Okay, welcome to Stega Podcast. I am with Kulani, and before I try to introduce him, I will just allow you to introduce yourself.
Oh, thanks, Shepard. It's always difficult even to introduce yourself. I'm not sure when you're a church guy. I'm sure you've seen there's a meme of how
Guest
how,
pastors.
yeah, how guest pastors start before they introduce them.
Sure,
they don't
sure.
even look. So you can understand the pressure that is there when someone is introducing you, and now that you also have to come through,
Yeah,
introduce yourself. I feel like the
exactly.
pressure just goes up. But
Yeah.
briefly, man, I'm even shocked, but actually it's a good thing because looking at how me and you know each other, we probably met in church, and I think my church name for the longest part was mostly Kulani, and so that's why I mentioned
Oh,
Kulani.
yes.
But for most people, it would mostly be GK at
GK,
most.
okay, yeah.
So but my full names are Greg Kulani Mhlanga, and like I said, that most people tend to call the GK one instead of the Kulani one.
Okay, yeah.
I always say that if my parents were to come to Cape Town and look for Kulani or Greg, they would struggle even to find me.
Oh, yeah.
So if they were to look for GK, I think it would be much more easier for them to find me. But I'm currently doing my pupillage. I'm an admitted advocate of the High Court. Currently doing my pupillage. Also registered for my LLM at the University of the Western Cape. So I think that's briefly what I can say about myself.
Okay.
Else we're gonna talk the whole night.
Sure. And by the way, talking about speaking the whole night, we actually can go as long as we can. That's if you have time. But if you don't have time, we can always do something else. But with that said, that's Kulani, guys. Oh, that's GK.
Either one goes.
Either one, yeah.
Goes.
You see, what I've just heard now, when you were just saying that you're doing people, just like, okay, you know what? I have so many questions about law, but I think in my small observations and in the videos that I saw on your Facebook was law is actually very broad, like it's super broad, and you have to be a specialist in something. So I just want to find out, when I say specialist in something, I mean the things that I heard you talking about was things like public health. I had
maintenance stuff.
maintenance stuff, yes, and then for marriages and divorce courts and stuff. And I realized this is actually broad. It's a very broad subject. So I just want you to tell me maybe the basics of law in terms of when you start as a student and what are the hierarchies like in terms of law. You can just start from, okay, when you start as a law student and then go to, because I remember I asked you that at the time on your on WhatsApp to say that you're an advocate. I didn't even know the difference between an
advocate and
an attorney. Yes.
There's-
So I want you to just do the justice.
I
just
think
on
most of the time that's usually the confusion with
Sure.
most people, because for some people it's like you're an attorney and then an advocate is like Super Saiyan if you're watching
Sure.
Dragon Ball Z growing
Sure,
up.
sure.
But it's really not like that. So just to take you briefly to do what I did. So I did my 2 years of articles. It's a prerequisite, but now for you to be admitted as an attorney. But let me just take it a step back where you get your matric certificate, obviously bachelor's pass, you apply for a university degree, that being LLB. Most universities offer an LLB, direct LLB. I know a couple of universities, they don't allow you to go into direct LLB. You first have to do BCom law for 3 years or BA law for 3 years.
Okay.
And then you do LLB as inverted commas, a postgraduate degree.
Okay.
And then after getting your LLB, if you want to become an attorney now, I think the best way to explain it to people, the difference between an attorney and advocate is, so and I would use the example of doctors. In doctors, you have a general practitioner that when you're coughing, you wake up with the flu tomorrow, you go to
just go to them,
a general practitioner. You don't just go to a specialist when you wake up, and then
Definitely,
when you get there, if you're coughing, then the general practitioner will therefore say, what you're struggling from is that thing and that thing that I've noticed. I think you need someone that specializes in that particular thing. It could be bronchitis, whatever it is that makes a person cough. So That's why I come in and I explain the difference between an attorney and an advocate. So an attorney would be what I would put in inverted commas to say that if you're a doctor, it would be you being a general practitioner. When you have flu, you go to them. If someone is married, they want to divorce, the first person they run to is not an advocate. They run to an attorney.
Attorney, yeah.
And then an attorney will probably say, oh, well, okay, maybe there's certain amounts that prohibit me from dealing with this matter directly. I need to brief counsel, that being an advocate now, that can be able, that has an access to the High Court, and that mostly deals in terms of family law or deals with litigation with regards to family law matters. Litigation, I mean going to court and handling family law matters.
Litigation means?
Yeah, litigation means that, So litigation means what you normally see on TV when lawyers are standing there addressing the court on big cases. That's what we call litigation. So you're litigating mostly, So that's what we call litigation.
So you guys are the Harvey Specters and
yeah, if you watch too much Suits, and that's my concern, man. I'm happy that there's such podcasts because most South Africans know more about American law than they do South African law. I see. So just to bring it back to that, I think Harvey practices as an attorney, but I think they have a different way of calling it in the US. I'm more familiar with the South African process than the US process.
Yeah.
So what we do now as advocates is that we are like specialists in litigation.
Okay.
So if you have complicated cases or a case that's a bit above the jurisdiction of most magistrate courts, because most attorneys mostly function in the magistrate court.
Sure.
So if it's mostly high court matters, they prefer to do what they call briefing counsel. So in briefing counsel, that's when you're referring your matter to an advocate. An advocate takes it further from there, and then that's when you go to the High Court, Supreme Court, and then the Constitutional Court as well. And
can you please just break down those courts?
Those courts.
Yeah.
Before I get to the courts, let me just quickly go back to now the requirements now between the two. So now I think I've covered up the part of what attorney is and then what an advocate is. So just to make it simple, the other one is a general practitioner, the other one is a specialist. You may find a general practitioner, inverted commas, an attorney that specializes in a particular field. But most of the times, that's how it normally works as well.
Okay.
So attorneys, you need to do your LLB degree. After LLB degree, do 2 years of articles. That's what I was doing when I was in Caledon. 2 years of articles. So it's like literally what I would say, inverted commas again, internship. You do that for a period of 2 years. And then within that period of 2 years, you have to write 4 admission exams.
Okay.
So you have to pass all those 4 admission exams. And then
so what do they entail?
So the admission exams entail is different papers that are there. So it's largely what you're doing while you're in practice. There's criminal procedure, there's rough claims, there's family law. So different spheres of
so you kind of like touch all many spheres
so
as you can.
Yeah, it's like a crash course, I'd say.
I see. Yeah.
What the law consists of, in practice. So it's a bit of a crash course, but very difficult exams, very stressful exams that you have to come through and study for. And also with that, you also need to do what we call law school while you're doing your articles. So they structure it differently from time to time. I remember I did it what they call full-time. So for me to attend full-time, it was through block weeks. So it was 2 weeks first, and then after the 2 weeks, then I had to attend 3 weeks of block weeks for law school. Then after that, they call it PLT. I forgot the full meaning, what it means now.
So on the 4 articles, right? Is it
4 papers?
The 4 papers, right? Yeah. Are you now doing litigation, or is it more on?
No, it's not.
Study.
It includes quite a lot of things, because remember you out there, you're training, and others mostly legal aid. I know we litigate a lot, so we mostly go to court almost every single day. That was from Monday to Thursday I was in court. Only Friday I was at the office doing office work. But others that they don't do most criminal work or type of things that will require you to be in court. Others that they normally do what they are called briefing counsel at most. So most of them, they just get cases, prepare cases, and then they give them to counsel to go and litigate at most. So litigation is part of the questions they ask you on it, certain parts, but it's largely the preparations around that whole litigation aspect as to how do you prepare for cases and all of that, and how do you take cases further in high court or magistrate court, what needs to be there. People are getting divorced. How do you draft pleadings? What do you call pleadings? So that's papers. So I don't want to make it too complicated.
No, I mean, feel free, because the thing is, when as you're talking, it's like the mind is just going all over the show.
Yeah, but at the very same time, I don't want to lose you. Because
Yeah.
even I, with a law degree, sometimes I'd get lost in terms of certain things, you know.
Sure. So, as you're explaining now, I just want to find out how was your first litigation court, like being litigation as we talked about
And
that,
like
appearing in
First time
court.
I
How
appeared in
was
court.
that experience?
It was very much exciting. I think I had my first appearance. I think it was.
Were you because I know I'll just be doing a lot of references to suits because, like you say, that the only reference that I have is
I haven't watched Suits till this
Really?
day. I refuse to watch it. So
I think I understand, because you're a lawyer, probably might.
to a certain extent, yeah, because I also don't like the inconsistencies that they sort of create in the law. How evidence is led, that side is very much different. If someone wants to understand, have a better understanding of South African law, a series that I would recommend is actually one of the reasons why I'm doing law today.
Okay.
It's a series I used to watch growing up called Sokulu and Partners.
So cool.
I used to play on SABC One. I think they still have a couple of episodes online, but it's very difficult to get most of their episodes. I think
Is
I've
it?
seen 2 or 3 episodes online.
Okay.
That gives you a general idea of how our courts actually work. You know,
Sure.
not this heavily dramatized stuff that you normally
Yeah,
see
yeah.
in your suits and how to get away with murder.
How to get away
Maybe
with
the
murder,
series
yeah.
along those lines. you know.
Definitely, yeah.
So it's way too different. It's way too different. Yeah.
So coming back to the explaining on in terms of how it was when you were actually in court, like your first litigation.
It's like when you.
Is it intense though?
It depends on a person, man. Like I'd give an analogy of you played soccer before. Well, I'm not sure how far you went, but in terms of, it's like your first soccer match or your first time you're doing public speaking. You know?
Sure.
But the only difference now is that what you say or what you fail to say has a huge impact on the person that you're representing. You know, so depending on how you speak and well, like I said, that what you say and what you forget to say, it plays a huge role. It's no longer like in soccer whereby you can make a mistake, or you make a mistake, a goal is scored, you can still come back and equalize. There you have to think on your feet, you have to be sharp as well. But I was well prepared, and my first appearance, I think that's one thing I liked about legal aid. You know, they throw you in the deep and then you have to sink or swim, and I was not the sinking type, so
Sure,
I was able to
Yeah.
swim. It was nerve-wracking, but at the very same time I was excited, man. It felt like a dream come true.
Sure,
I remember I was
sure.
doing something I've always wanted to do since I was
Definitely,
in
yeah.
grade 6, grade 7. So for me to get that opportunity to finally wear a gown and not practicing it or rehearsing it, but doing the actual thing now,
Sure.
for me it was like, okay, fine. The thing I've always been praying to God for.
This is the moment.
This
yeah.
is the moment, you know.
Sure.
So it's like the moment is here, the time is now, you know. I was obviously a bit nervous. Time and again, I still get to be nervous when I would have to appear in court.
Yeah.
And I've also seen it even now that I'm doing people with some of my seniors, that time and again, before a case can start, they'll tell you, I'm a bit nervous. And I'm a bit nervous. So
Yeah.
the nerves were there, but it was a good feeling. I think the lady said the butterflies in your stomach. So I had something along those lines. You know, I was shaking, but I was excited at the same time. Yeah.
Is there a lingo where they say that, okay, you're because so the other question I want to ask, so I'll just ask the question: were you a defending or a prosecutor?
So prosecutors work for the NPA.
Okay.
So that's why normally you'd see that if someone was killed, they will say on the news, NPA say that there's this thing and that thing. NPA
I
that
see.
stands for National Prosecuting Authority.
Okay.
Those are the prosecutors.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where prosecutors come from.
Yeah.
So now you're speaking in terms of a criminal case, you know, because everyone else, whenever they think of lawyers, they're always thinking of criminals.
Oh, I see.
Of which it's a field that I do, it's something I'm very passionate about.
Yes.
I want to practice in criminal law. I've been practicing in criminal law.
Sure.
But even after pupillage, I want to continue and practice in criminal law. So I was a defense, unfortunately, the devil's advocate, so they say, you know, to a certain extent.
Sure,
I ended up being called that. You know, literally people will be like,
Really?
the devil's advocate. Yeah, but
Yeah.
so that was just my thing. So I'm a defense lawyer. So That's why if anything else happens to a person, yes, the prosecutor will be the one that represents the person that was raped, that was assaulted, that their house was broken into. They call them, they represent the state. And then if you're the person that you allegedly raped a person or assaulted someone, you need a defense lawyer. So that's when you go and call, I'm going to call my lawyer, so and so and so and so and so. So just to simplify it, I don't want to complicate it and bring an aspect of what they call a watching brief and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
So I just leave it at those two to say that the prosecutor is the one that represents you when you're the victim, and the defense lawyer represents the alleged perpetrator.
The devil's advocate.
The devil's advocate, to put it in there. You know?
Sure.
So yeah, so that's how it works.
Okay.
So I've been the devil's advocate, and I've always wanted to become the devil's advocate.
Is it?
Yeah, like I said.
So what inspired? Since you knew, like, did you know, like, in terms of there's prosecutors and the defendants? What inspired you to go for the defendant?
That's a very good question, actually. But I felt like prosecuting would limit me, because you're largely limited to what comes to the court you're working in. So prosecutors work in a particular court.
Okay.
Unless maybe they can rotate you, that this time you're in that court, this time you're in that court. But at most, you work in that particular court. But as a lawyer, I can work all across the country.
Oh, I see.
You know, so if you're a defense lawyer, or prosecutors are also lawyers. What I meant is that as a defense lawyer,
Yes,
you can work across the country. You know, so I feel like that was one of the things that made me choose to be on the defense side than the prosecuting side.
Okay.
And I feel like the prosecuting side, it gets to a point whereby you do the same thing each and every single day. I wouldn't be enjoying the challenge now.
Oh, I see.
It'll only be once in a while whereby you have a special case that you must be preparing thoroughly. But any other time, you just be stuck in court dealing with your normal cases. That would be assault, housebreaking, depending on the area that you're working in. You know, so I felt like for me, I wouldn't be able to do something that wouldn't keep me on my toes. Maybe it keeps others on their toes, but for me, I found to being the aspect of having to be the defense lawyer much more challenging, and something that would definitely keep me on my toes.
Sure.
So that's why I decided to do that, to rather follow with criminal law. And another thing was that I normally tell people whenever they would like, I was thinking the other day, I think it was about 2-3 days ago, how people normally have ideas or dreams for other people's degrees.
Okay.
So what I mean by this is that they'll be like, oh, you studied law, yeah. Oh, you must actually consider doing tax law. There's actually money in tax law. Oh, you studied electrical engineering. Why don't you start your own company and do that thing? You do that thing. So they have ideas of what you must do with your degree. And for me, it has never been the case. I've always had an idea of what I want to do. What you want to do, degree. Sure. So that was one of the things. So what point was I driving home again?
Probably you were just in terms of because remember I asked you the question that what inspired you to you were trying to
I think it was somewhere along those lines or saying that. So for me it was an issue of like I said, that it's something that I've always wanted to do, and I think there's a nice video I posted the other time about, it was, I'm not sure if you saw it on my status. It was a movie called, I think it's Philadelphia, by Denzel Washington.
No.
And there's a clip there that is asking some guy that is a lawyer that he was representing. And then he's asking that guy that I think you're an excellent lawyer, and then he explained that I'm an excellent lawyer.
Sure.
But the part I liked was like time and again, not occasionally, but once in a while, I get to be part of having to witness justice being done. That for me was just a simple line of saying that that's why I've always wanted to do law and be on the other side. Even prosecutors, I think they're more in a better position of having to say witness justice being done.
Yeah, I think you're right on that in that sense, because it seems like the prosecutors, since they are representing quote unquote victim, so it's easy to say justice, but as a defendant, it's a different one.
And I normally say this, that you never recognize or appreciate what justice is until you in a situation whereby we're recording in your studio now, someone comes through you take out a gun, the person was coming through to rob you, maybe they came with their own gun, they fired a couple of shots, you manage to overpower them, you take the gun, you shoot them back, you kill the person. Police come, who fire the shot, you said you fired the shot, they arrest you, it's a murder case.
Well, I understand.
Don't you think you need a good lawyer to get you out of that?
Definitely, yeah.
Your intentions were good, your intentions were pure. You know.
It's like
still the devil's advocate.
I see what you did there.
You know, so
but I understand because like you're saying, it's justice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's justice either way. So if even if at the end of the day you are convicted, justice would have been done. Justice doesn't mean that a person that I'm representing must not get convicted. If it's in the interest of justice, justice would have been done that you're convicted. That is still justice. So I feel like people have a misconception of what justice really is, but we won't go too much philosophical on that.
Definitely, but I understand what you're saying because it's we see defendants always being either like the narcos, like drug cartels. They had to get it. So you see someone who's actually someone who did something wrong. So we always say, okay, that's why we call you guys the devil's advocate, because you know, okay, this guy is a drug cartel.
And you forgive society for that, you know, because mostly, the point I was driving was to say that people will ask you why you're not doing company law or anything else. I remember what I was saying.
Yes.
I was to say that I am black. I didn't grow up in a family whereby my father would be talking about business acquisitions. My father would be talking about tax. My father would be talking about intellectual property stuff. No. Even now, when I go to a family gathering or wherever I'll be asked about a criminal case or a divorce case or someone, your cousin got burned by a car, they want to claim for RAF. So growing up, our experiences to a certain extent end up influencing our career choices. So I'll say that for me, yes, that could have played the role, but I love criminal law, but that to a certain extent could have probably played the role because growing up, most of us as black kids, we're not exposed to your business acquisitions, your commercial law and everything else. Most of us were just exposed to, whenever you think of lawyers, you think of what liars who do what to represent bad people. That's what most people think of at most.
That's true, yeah.
And that's definitely not the truth. But the unfortunate part is that most people are only exposed to lawyers when it comes to that. At most. So that's the unfortunate part. So that's the point I wanted to drive home when I talk about the Facebook status.
The Facebook status, yeah. I think it makes sense because you see, with where we are, there's a lot of narratives that are being pushed, right? And like you said, that we're glad that we're in this podcast. We can just iron some few things out, right? So, is there anything that you would say could, like, you know, when usually they say that when the education system, they can always teach people about tax. You know, they always talk about something like that. Is it something that you can say that, okay, if they were to introduce maybe 1, 2, 3, this could help a lot of people know about law?
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky thing, but I mean, like, you're talking about law in general or a specific part in law?
I think law in general, because literally when I was listening to your posts, right, on your Facebook, I realized that there's actually a lot which I do not know. And it's things which I can literally just, if I know this information, it allows me to be able to actually hold a conversation with a lawyer in a case where I need a law, because apparently you guys charge a lot of money.
It's a lie. That's why most of us are broke.
You understand what I mean? But I feel like it would be very much important for someone to kind of like know, like just at least entry level law, which I feel like most people don't really know. Like you talk about even constitutional law and all this other stuff, commercial law, yes. So I feel like those are things which, like, is there something which you can suggest that, okay, this could be something that if this was introduced, this could help an average person to know a bit, at least about law, so that at least when they're in a situation, then they know which channels to. I don't know if you listen to.
Okay. You listen to.
Yeah, I don't know if you listen to Podcast and Chill today.
McG.
Yes.
I have my own reservations about him now. Yeah,
Okay.
I was the biggest fan for the longest time.
Yeah, I actually saw that you were actually following him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to follow him for the longest time, but then came to a point where I started having my own reservations about him. You know, but yeah, so I haven't listened to a couple of his episodes.
Is it?
Yeah, I would. Besides the fact that I hardly have time to do most things I used to do before people, it's consuming much of my time.
Yeah, sure.
So if it's not physically, it's mentally. You're just tired. You know, and, you know, so I haven't listened to most of his episodes. I listened to maybe a couple there and there and there and there. But coming to your question before we can come to the podcast, sure. I feel like what I was doing on Facebook and Zoom, what you're doing here as well.
Sure.
And I'm glad that, well, others might not want to admit, not to get a big head, but from what I did, I saw a couple of people that are probably lawyers as well. They got an idea, and some also started similar things on their Facebooks and all of those things, and Instagram accounts as well, on their Facebook and Instagram accounts, and Zoom as well. Of which it's a beautiful thing, because now it goes to a whole aspect of access to justice now. Meaning that you tend to know that next time when my neighbor makes so much noise, I can actually complain and then get an order against my neighbor from playing music from this time up until that time. They can only play it maybe at so much decibels and all of those things. So I feel like the more we get such conversations out there, the better. The more it's similar to health issues, you know. The more they talk to them, the more they talk about them, the more you get radio shows to talk about these things, so that even an ordinary person that is using a taxi, whenever they need a taxi, they get to hear that there's actually such thing that is called neighborhood law and stuff. There's this law and that law and that law and that law, you know. There's small claims court. I think that was one of the
things that was
did,
big. Yes.
Were like,
yeah.
They didn't know that there's such thing such as small claims court, that if you owe me 10,000, I've been struggling to get that money, because if you go to lawyers and you use lawyers to collect that money, chances are that most of that money will probably end up going into like legal fees and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But small claims court is an easy process that a person can just go into the court and say that so and so owes me money, so and so stays there, I'm paying 100 rands or whatever amount I think they charge now, so that this person can be brought to court, and I come to court, we explain our case, we get a judgment, inverted commas.
Sure.
It says this and that and that.
Yeah.
So I feel like the more we talk about those things, the better. Because even after that, I still get people today asking me about small claims court. I still get people today talking about small claims court.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like the more we get such platforms whereby people are talking about such things, but more especially law that is simple and relevant to people.
Yeah.
You know, on day-to-day basis. Like I said, your small claims court, your maintenance issues, your neighborhood issues, you know, those type of things.
So just bumping into a car and
you know, what happens in terms of the insurance there.
Sure.
I think there was one episode where we were explaining the RAF process. How does a person go about claiming from RAF and all of those things, you know. So the more we can be talking about such things, I think the better we can get it out there. And now with the digitalized world, whereby no longer depending on mainstream media to just wait for your radio, or you have a podcast, you're putting it out there. I was putting it up on Facebook. People must put it up on YouTube. So every other platform, not neglecting your radios, obviously, whereby you can still get such platforms to put it out there.
Sure.
So I think that is something that needs to be done to get.
Yeah, I think that's actually profound as well, because I learned a lot from the lives that you did. They were really helpful. I think you like saying this, like some of these things they might not relate to you, but you might need it, or you know someone who needs it. Yeah, so I actually learned a lot. For me, I just got married, so I kind of like understood even more on the contractuals and
there was one that we did on marriages, I think. Different type of different type of matrimonial properties, community of property, out of community of property, and all of that, you know. I think, see what I mean, and say that South Africans know much more about American law than South African law. They'll talk of a prenup. In South Africa, we call it an anti-nuptial.
Yes.
So all of those things. Yeah. So like I said, that the more we talk about such things, and the more society, even in churches, we need conversations about such things.
Sure.
But unfortunately, it's frowned upon. Like I said, that until a person needs it, or sometimes what is unfortunate is that many opportunities go by without people knowing that I could have actually claimed for that. I could have claimed for that.
Sure.
Or had it been that I've known better, I wouldn't have gotten myself into the thing and that thing. People perish because of lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge, yeah.
So we could
Come
definitely avoid that.
Preach.
I don't want to preach now. But
Sure,
I'm just
sure.
saying that whatever platform that is there, man, we can be able to just talk about law.
Do you perhaps have any platform talking about that? Do you have any platform that you can say that, okay, if anyone was to go to this platform, maybe they can get maybe some, because I'll just put your name as well, the Facebook name, so that people can also go check your stuff. But if do you have any maybe other material which you can say that, okay, this is I like this podcast, it actually helps in terms of law?
Not that I've been aware of, because like I said, that mostly it's difficult to maintain a niche, if that's a correct pronunciation.
Yeah,
but something that's like a very small type of the target market. It's quite it's big, but it's small. I'm not sure if you know what I mean.
Understand. Yeah.
So what I mean is that like small claims court, you can have that. Most people are probably maybe gonna listen to it, but it's not everyone else that want to listen to a lawyer talk if they don't have problems about money. You know, so
I understand.
and unless people have problems about money, then maybe they can be able to listen to that. So I feel like most people are discouraged because to sustain such audience becomes a bit of
and you have to know a lot about almost anything.
Yes, you know. So but now I really can't think of any that I've come across. But there's a couple of things that can educate. Like I'd say that there's on YouTube. There's what used to play. I think it was on SABC2 or SABC1 when I was growing up. It used to be called Final Verdict.
Final Verdict.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Final Verdict explains certain aspects of what happens when parents are separating. So it's like it's a drama, but in between they come in, they explain this procedure, this and that procedure is going to take place.
Sure.
So the Final Verdict also gives a good idea on the background of South African law as well, because it's a South African thing also. And like I said earlier on, that Sokulu and Partners, it's also another good indication for me that I'd refer people to if they want to get anything else that is related to South African law.
Okay. And the other thing is on Facebook, it's GK Mhlanga.
Yeah, on Facebook, it's just GK Mhlanga. That's
yes. Then maybe you can just spell Mhlanga for someone who might butcher.
I'm glad it's the spelling, it's not the pronunciation, because I've heard my name being pronounced.
I saw a poster.
like you know. And what's funny is that people can say Mhlanga rocks. And then when they have to pronounce my surname, I would hear Mr. Mhlanga, Mr. Mhlanga, you know, Mr. Mahlangu, you know, all these type of things, you know, and then you're like, okay. But yeah, for those who are struggling, you know, it's MHLANGA, and then the GK is just a simple G and a simple K. Simple as that, Awesome. So it's just that,
Guys, if you go on his page, just as he has explained, you go on his live videos, you see some videos there, some nice videos. By the way, this man is well traveled. He's well traveled and he's a leader. I think I just want to touch this part of leadership as well, and we're just gonna come back to the law. I don't know if you want us to talk about it. Funny enough, at SEO, you know, there's you would have like different leaders in the organization, and I think we were one of the leaders. And the reason why I'm saying that is, you know, there's a tailor-made of right. So because the thing is, I don't think I was in the system, but I don't know where I would put myself. I wouldn't say I was a leader, but I was there in the system somehow, right? So it made sense why you were a leader, and I saw when I was going through your live videos, you went through some leadership. Where is that aspect coming from? Because the question that I actually want to ask is, do you think leaders are made or leaders are born?
I think all human beings are born. The only person that was made it was Adam and Eve.
Okay.
Those ones were made,
definitely.
But everyone else was born.
Sure.
I think it's Are soccer players made or soccer players are born?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
I think that answers your question, man. So that's just my take on it, to say that some people they it's just naturally in them.
Sure.
And obviously you have to work on the talent and then cultivate it better.
Sure, definitely, yeah.
And some people, they just find themselves in that position whereby you have soccer boots, your dad bought you a soccer ball, but no matter how hard you try, the skill is just not there. The talent is just not there. You know? So I feel like for me, it's one of those things. You can try to teach leadership, you can try to lecture leadership to most people. Maybe they can get it right here and there, but some other people are just naturals. That's why you have your Ronaldos, your Messi of this world, that they just natural soccer players. You know, the talent is there. You know, so I feel like leaders are born, leaders are made. I feel like people are born with the talent of leadership. I think maybe, or a gift of leadership, rather should I say. And I think that's something that people do not really acknowledge. Everyone else can lead, but what I'm talking about leadership, I'm sure that you're also talking about is that of having to lead people in general, not just leading your own life. You know? So I feel like people are probably born with that. That's just my take on it. In the very same way that the person is born with a particular talent of singing. You know, I can go for singing lessons, but it will just never happen.
It will never happen,
It's the very same way that people are born with a gift of maybe playing the keyboard or playing the piano, playing drums. You know, I can go for as many lessons, but my touch will never be the same as someone that is born with this thing. You know,
exactly.
So I feel like for me, I feel my take on it is that it's a gift. I think it's a gift. You know.
So what did you carry yourself as a leader from like, did you notice that you were a leader, or was there a time where you actually realized that, okay, I think I'm a leader? Was there a time where you actually like come to that realization?
I wouldn't say, but I think for me it was largely a position that would make, now we're in a position, then you're a leader, and then but for me to say that was a time, I think, because if there's one person that played a huge role in terms of having to, I think the person identified the gift from an early age, and the person cultivated that gift, or she pushed me towards the right direction. It was my grade 7 class, my grade 7 class teacher.
Shout out.
Shout out to him. And name is Nelika Mutswani. She was actually a good family friend. Or still is a good family friend. I think that's one person that just pumped up so much confidence in me.
Sure.
You know, actually have the capabilities of doing that thing. You can do that, you can do that, you can do that. So I knew from a young age that, you know, I can be able to lead. I remember one time in class, I think I was doing grade 6.
Sure.
And we're in EMS, then Economic and Management Sciences. And then,
definitely.
Our teacher was going around asking, so what do you want to be? What do you want to be? What do you want to be? And when they asked me, it was grade 5, grade 6.
Sure.
And by then, I boldly said, I want to be the president, you know.
Mr. President.
And also I boldly said I want to be the president.
Yeah.
You know? But so I would say that I wouldn't say there's a moment whereby I would say that I realized actually now I'm a leader, but it just came naturally. Because for me it was like second nature, you know, having to do it, having to lead, you know. So and the passion is also there. You know? So I would say that I wouldn't say there was a moment. So it just came naturally to me.
Yeah. I saw you went on different trips. The reason why I was looking for the pictures because I actually wrote down the notes. But I think the conference that you went for is the one where you were talking the AI conference, something like that.
Which one was this?
I think probably it could have been the latest one, 2019.
2019. That was in Egypt.
Was it Egypt?
Yeah, World Youth Forum.
This is why I say that this man is well traveled.
It was the World Youth Forum in Egypt.
Sure.
Yeah, it was a beautiful forum.
Sure.
Yeah, so the process was that you'd apply as a young leader and then you motivate them.
So you actually had to apply for that?
Yeah, you had to apply for it and then you get accepted. I know a lot of people didn't get accepted. You know, it was quite a lot of people that didn't get accepted.
Sure.
And how I knew about it was through my, I would say, global network. Because from most of the conferences that you get invited to attend, because I've been invited to facilitate a couple of international conferences as well. So when you're invited there to facilitate, then you also meet other facilitators, you also meet other delegates there.
Okay.
It's just a whole global network that you create. And someone posted that conference, and then I applied, and then I got accepted for that. It was a really, really very beautiful conference.
So they're just talking about AI, because I think the part.
Oh, you saw the AI part.
Yes.
It was different aspects that we were actually talking about, but I think what interested most people, because when they saw me posting the status about AI and Sophia the robot, most people started commenting on that, because I think it's like a celebrity robot. It was AI. We covered education, we covered food security, we covered international security as well, we covered peacekeeping missions. So it was a couple of issues that are affecting the world today, but I think at the end of the day it was an issue of what role does AI play in all of that.
I see.
But because that was when the talk of fourth industrial revolution was very hot by then. I think the talk has sort of like died down because of COVID. There's a mask on its face.
Definitely,
there's a mask on its face, because now it's a bit quiet, but by then that's when the fourth industrial revolution talks were
because I think even the video where the question which was asked was, can human beings and machines correlate?
Yes.
And the first question was like no, but it was a no which is coming to a yes.
Yes, it's one of those that you can't give a yes or no answer. But it was really mind opening, man. One thing I must say about traveling is that it gives a different perspective. I appreciate it, man. Even if it means traveling from one village to the next village, you get to see people doing different things from your village.
Ways,
you travel from one province to the next province, you get to see people doing different things from what you're doing, So that's one thing I like about traveling. The perspective changes from now and again. And it also brings up a certain level of inspiration and motivation. And from a leadership point of view, I'd say that it makes you say that it doesn't give you a paper idea, it gives you a real idea of how certain countries are governed, how certain towns are governed, how certain provinces are governed, and you aspire to say that hopefully one day I'll be able to make that change in my community, I'll be able to make that change in my organization, I'll be able to make that change in my country. So that's one thing I appreciated, the different perspective, you can't buy it anywhere.
Definitely.
Or you can't read it anyway, let me rather say, because you can buy a plane ticket. But that experience, when you can't just take it from the book and put it in your head and just want to apply it like that.
Even looking at it on social media, it's not the same.
It's definitely.
And then your trip in Malaysia, it was also a youth.
That was International Youth Leadership Conference there. That was the first
IYC.
Time. IYLC.
IYLC, yes.
You did your research. That was old. That was 2017. Yeah, that was my first trip overseas.
Is it?
Yeah, that was my first trip overseas. Yeah, but that was more. We didn't have IR, but it was more in terms of how international relations actually work. What happens between countries, the negotiations. Now Russia and Ukraine, they're fighting. Diplomatic talks. How do you get into a diplomatic meeting and all of those things, And how do countries, enter into trade and all of those things. A partnership between Rwanda and South Africa, a trade partnership. How are those things concluded?
How does it work?
Yes, how does your G7, what compares with the G7, G8, I think G7, G8, how BRICS came about. So international relations at large. So that is what that conference focused on in terms of, international relations.
I saw you're talking to the guys and allowing them to speak in their own language.
I think that the diversity part, like I said, when you travel in my language, because I speak to Mhlanga. So the more you travel, the more you see these things, and the more you experience those things. It also opens up your mind.
So would you I think maybe you might have touched it on it a little bit. So would you say in terms of traveling is actually good in terms of actually expanding your worldview?
Definitely. definitely. I'd recommend it to anyone. That's why I always have a problem with people from back home. By back home, I mean Mpumalanga, your Bakridge region, Hazyview region.
Sure.
That you're born there, you do your high school there, fair enough. You also want to go to University of Limpopo, University of Venda, or University of Mpumalanga.
Sure.
Or the furthest you can go is Johannesburg.
Johannesburg, yeah.
Spread your wings, man. Get lost. Go anywhere else. That was
Sure.
with me when I decided that I'm going to throw myself in Caledon for a period of 2 years.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You learn different things. You learn how different people. And I feel like once you learn that, it becomes a skill. I also say, even in terms of language, that language is a skill, man. It's like an extra skill because you can go to any other place. You can be able to communicate with that thing. You consult with people that are Afrikaans speaking. You learn how to speak Afrikaans, and then you come.
You speak Afrikaans?
I speak Afrikaans quite well. Remember, I was in a Afrikaans school in my high school.
Is it?
So and I've been doing Afrikaans since grade 1.
Sure.
It was just an issue that when I go to the other side of the world, it became more practical, and you had to talk a lot more of Afrikaans as compared to when you're just learning it in school.
Sure.
And there's your vendor also that I would learned around when I watched Mhlanga, and then surrounded myself with a lot of vendor people. Mpumalanga is there. So I speak almost every South African language that is
because I think if you crack vendor, that means
your
tongue can.
So I can't go to any place in South Africa and
Sure.
struggle to communicate. That's why I'm saying that it's a skill again.
Definitely.
And the more you learn, when we were in Egypt, then there was this guy when we were buying souvenirs. South Africa, and then he started to speak Afrikaans.
Okay.
Most of us now came through to him because we're like, oh, okay, he's been South Africa. And it was a skill that he used to get us to come and buy his stuff.
Definitely,
So you never know where you can go. Even now, if I were to go for a job interview, and I don't go for those anymore. But no, the reason I'm saying this is because another thing is that people think that as an advocate you get employed. We don't get employed unless you become what you call state attorney. That is being a prosecutor that you see in the high court, busy with these big criminal cases.
Sure.
Those ones are employed. But as an advocate, you run your own practice. Like a doctor would run their own practice, open their own practice.
Definitely,
a lawyer would run their own law firm. But the only difference between us and lawyers, not lawyer, attorney.
An attorney,
is that attorneys can form a group, or they can function as a firm and share profits and stuff. We don't do that. So you practice as Shepherd, I practice as GK. So that's how we run our own individual practices.
So right now, is that what you're doing now?
So what I'm doing now, yes, I'm currently undergoing training. So Pupil is training for me to become a member of a bar. So now advocates will practice from what we call a bar. So
is that where the bar exams comes in?
Yes, that's where the bar exams. But bar exams are only for pupils. Not for attorneys. Attorneys write what they call admission exams. Then I think they're called board exams. Then.
Sure.
But now when I wrote them, because I wrote those exams as well, but I just decided not to get admitted as an attorney, but focused on my advocacy route.
I see.
So we work from a bar. A bar is a group of advocates that just come together.
Sure.
You normally see it in terms of doctors. That they're all housed up in one house or one office. But
there's
all
just
of them,
different people,
Each and every single doctor has their own clients.
Sure.
Similar to that type of setting.
I see.
The bar. So that's why I'm doing my pupillage so that I can be able to pass my bar exams and be able to join the bar. Okay. So I was talking about interviews before I could get to this.
Sure.
I remember when I did my interview for legal aid, because I was at legal aid for my articles.
Sure.
Then the call came from Caledon, but how it works at legal aid, they interview everyone else, they put you in a pool. So whichever branch in the province would need someone, they just go to that pool and then they just pull out a person.
Okay.
And then Caledon called, they were like, can you read Afrikaans? I started speaking in Afrikaans with the person that called me. And then sent me an email, and I responded to the email in Afrikaans, and I was like, okay, good, cool, you can come through.
Okay.
So those things are things that will probably give you an upper hand here and there.
I see.
Had it been that it was going to be in the Eastern Cape, and then they're like, it would have been much more easier. You can be able to speak in Xhosa.
And write.
You can go there. If it was a post that came out in Toyando and I was interested, not that I would be, I doubt.
Is it nicer to work at home?
No, what is home, man?
You see, looking at the economy and stuff, back home, most people, they don't really have to pay for rent. And the rent is.
I get you. I get all the logical thinking around it. But one person made me question the whole concept of home.
Okay.
You married, your wife is in Cape Town. Well, I'm not sure if you're planning on having kids anytime soon, but if you have kids, your kids will be born in Cape Town.
And they will call this place home.
That is home for them.
Yes.
You know, so for me, home is, yes, where you go, where your parents probably are and stuff, but what are you going to do? They clean graves. And unless you have a purpose of saying that I want to go home and do 1, 2, 3, and 4 in terms of maybe developing the community or maybe developing myself or anything else.
I think there is a lot that
closer to home, just to be closer to. No offense to those ones that want to be closer to graves and want to be closer to their parents and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, like the
it's
thing
just
is,
my own personal.
I understand.
Yeah.
You see, the good thing about that is closer to home. For someone who has lived in the city, there's because you see that when you go home, people back home are trying to live city life, and you always have ideas. I don't know if it's the same with you. Every time I go home, I always see ideas like, okay, I see what they're trying to do, but they're getting there somehow. So probably you could be that person who would sit down and.
For the longest time, I was considering saying that, you know what, if we keep on running away from our homes and our rural towns and all of this, who's going to develop them? Are waiting for a white man to come and build the mall, build your Tabani mall there, build a particular shopping center there, come and introduce a certain service? Or if you're not a white man, you're waiting for a Somalian or you're waiting for a foreign national to come through and say, let me bring in a convenience shop where people are going to buy from my friend and all of these things.
Sure.
We keep on, all of us, we just keep on running away, you know. So that's just another thing. But for me, I don't think I'd want to go home anytime soon. You know? I've tested the city life and I think I'm good with it.
You're happy with it.
Yeah, I think I'm happy with where I am now. So I also don't miss the church at home where they will tell you that there's fundraising. In terms of fundraising, you know,
fundraising conferences.
They say it's fundraising. You know, like, what fun are we raising? You know, but yeah, you know, I love home. I love home, but I don't think there's any reason for me to say that I'd want to go home anytime soon now.
You've been for settlement there.
Yeah, to settle
just go there for
vacation. Just to go there for vacation. But another person that would probably be listening to this podcast would be like, yeah, who are you leaving that home for there? Who's going to develop it? You know, if you guys keep on running away.
Going to town,
to each one his own.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, each and every person has their own. The thing is, for me, if I had a chance to actually have this kind of work that I do, which is electrical engineering, back home, because the thing is, back home, there's not much of building infrastructure. There's not like a lot of jobs. There's no. So, but if there was an opportunity to go back home, I think I would have went home. But since I'm in the city,
someone has listened to the podcast. Say, go and create that opportunity.
There's a lot of opportunities, and then actually back home there's a lot of money as well, eh?
Yeah, there is. That's why vendors are rich.
That's why there's a lot of money on that side. I think maybe coming back to law, because I think before we diverged into leadership, we were still explaining on, because we're still talking about the tiers in terms of being a lawyer, right? And I think you have touched extensively on the difference between an attorney and an advocate. Yes, so I think you were saying that the way you were still explaining on the 4 is it the exams?
The exams
that you wrote. I think you may just continue from there.
Yeah, but I don't even need to go into details for those things.
No, I mean you can just continue from there. Like what's the next step from there?
And then after passing those exams, if you did your time, normally call it doing it your time.
Okay.
You finished your articles, your 2 years of articles. You've done your law school, and you are found to be fit and proper. I don't have questionable criminal records and stuff. Then you make an application to the High Court to get admitted as an attorney.
So you can't practice law if you have a criminal record?
No. Unless there's certain exceptions to it, They'll probably object if you have this particular criminal record. Did you apply for... What is the word now? I forgot. Whereby they clear up your criminal record after a certain period of years.
Oh, yeah, I see.
I think I also did an episode on that on Facebook. I had the Deputy Minister of Justice that was covering up that topic. When I interviewed him, I was covering up that topic then. So Yeah, and then if you are found to be fit and proper, we normally say found to be fit and proper.
Fit and proper,
You
okay.
get admitted. That's when you see people taking pictures outside the high court. You're going to be admitted as
It's an
attorneys as
attorney,
well. Yeah. So the advocacy stream before November 2018, it was a bit different. I got my degree before November 2018.
Okay.
So then with just an LLB degree, anyone that got the LLB degree before November 2018 can just simply go to the High Court and make an application to say that they want to be admitted as an advocate, and they're admitted as an advocate.
Okay. So what has changed now?
So what has changed now is that there's more or less a similar type of route now. So what happens now is that, and I speak under correction, but what happens now is that you must apply for pupillage and you must register your contract with what we call the Legal Practice Council. Similar to what you do with articles, because when you're doing your articles to be an attorney, you also register that contract. And then you register that contract for pupillage with the Legal Practice Council. And then you must write their exams. And then you must also write the bar exams also. So the mountain is a bit steeper for them now because they write 2 sets of exams. While I write 1 set of exams, which now it's going to be 5 exams that I'm going to be writing at the end of the year.
Are you counting yourself also as part of those who have to write the 2 exams?
No.
Okay.
So those
are the 5 exams, are including the ones for...
So it's 5, let me say it's 5 papers.
Oh, okay.
The articles, remember articles, that was for me wanting to become an attorney.
Oh, I see.
But now things have changed. Since now I want to become a member of the bar, I have to write 5 bar exams. And if you pass those bar exams and you've completed your pupillage, then you can apply to any bar in South Africa. That is part of the GCB, the General Council, the General Bar Council, GBC, General Bar Council. You can apply to any of those bars for membership there to become a member. So you can apply to that group of doctors. Remember the example I gave about doctors?
Yes.
To join them and practice from where they are practicing.
Oh, I see.
So it's a similar example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you apply from them?
Yeah, so you apply to them.
Oh, I see.
So now I'm at the CapeBar now. So CapeBar, group of doctors in inverted commas.
Sure.
And then now I'm a trainee doctor there at the CapeBar. But for them to say that you must come and practice with us next year so that you can be able to also run your practice from where we are running our practice. We require you to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then one of those requirements are that you must write 5 papers. And then you must pass all 5 papers.
Okay.
And so if you fail 1 paper, you have to repeat the process again next year. You know, so unfortunately that's how it goes.
School never
so yeah.
Sure. Have you wrote any paper now?
Not yet. So I have my exams coming up. First set of exams called mock exams. Those are there to prepare you for the final exams.
Okay, sure.
So mock exams in matric, those will be your trial exams. Matric. So I have my trial exams coming up now.
Sure.
I have 5 papers that I have to write, and then coming up now in July. And I think the final exams will probably be somewhere in September or so. That's when I'll be writing that up.
Talking about that, in terms of your journey as of becoming a lawyer. So now, do you call yourself a lawyer, or you call yourself an advocate?
I'm a lawyer.
When you pass,
an advocate is a lawyer, an attorney is a lawyer, a prosecutor is a lawyer, a magistrate is a lawyer, a judge is a lawyer. So others use to say that anyone that has a law degree is called a lawyer. That's the general definition that most people. And I understand, even when I was talking here, I kept on making a mistake of referring to an attorney as a lawyer, and refer to an advocate.
Sure.
All of us, we all lawyers, we just different type of lawyers.
Different types of
lawyers. We all doctors, just different types of doctors. There's gynecologists, cardiologists, I think it's the cardiologist, I think. There's general practitioners and all of those things. They're all doctors, but just different type of doctors.
So
we're all lawyers, but just different type of lawyers.
So in your journey, what is it that which stage of your journey would you say that you enjoyed the most? Is it the studying, the article side?
I enjoyed articles more than anything else.
Is it?
I enjoyed articles. Articles were
to become an attorney.
Okay. That for me was a bit relaxed. Yes, the pressure would be there, but as compared to now, whereby I'm doing pupillage. I just can't wait for the year to be over. And mentally, if you're not strong, I don't think you should go for pupillage. Pupillage requires you to be mentally strong.
Okay.
It's mentally strong. Physically, it's also draining as well. There's a lot of long hours that go into it, and there's a lot of thinking that also go into it. I was telling someone over the weekend that I would struggle to read a book of 150 pages, but now you'd get cases that go to 100 and something pages, 80 something pages, and probably have to read those cases within a day or two, maybe 2 of those cases or 3 of those cases, because you're working on a particular case that requires you to know a certain case. Then you're reading all of those things. So it keeps one on their toes. Before I could come here, I just got an email from my pupil mentor, the person that is currently training me for pupillage now. That there's something that he wrote and then he wants me to look at it. I probably have to look at it now, go back, look at it, send it to him before I go to bed, so that tomorrow when we wake up, more
then you
than
get a discussion point,
you're going to discuss everything else. So such things. So it's really, really draining. It's very much frustrating. I think my mother's prayers are currently carrying me,
Yeah, that's important.
So yeah, mentally it is very much demanding, But just to mention something, I think that sometimes whenever people will see you posting about graduation, they'll see you posting about admission, they'll see you posting about what you're doing now. People forget that, or they don't perceive you to be someone that has at some point failed in life, And if mostly whenever I get invited to come and speak, I'd normally like to say that I actually failed in university.
Okay.
I graduated a semester later than when I was supposed to graduate. I didn't finish my degree in record time. So, but most people will normally look at you and then they think that you're this person that finished your degree in record time. The reason I'm saying this is just to say that you don't need to have finished your degree in record time to be ambitious. The fact that maybe you probably would have failed modules now, you probably would have failed the year or anything else. It's not the end of the world. You probably would have heard this from someone over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But it is possible, man. It's not only those ones that are always getting summa cum laude. That's why even when we're still in executive in SO, I always had a problem with calling speakers for exam prayer being people that have graduated summa cum laude. Because I was like, from my experience, most people there, they're not experiencing summa cum laude marks. Most people are going there. Some qualified for exam, some didn't even qualify for exam, some barely qualified for the exam. They're
just bringing the real part of
So they want something that is real. They want someone that they can relate to. But if you bring someone that is a summa cum laude graduate, someone that is going summa cum laude, well, most of us will just sit there and just listen. Oh, well, good speech, good story, but that seems too far for me. Doesn't seem like someone like in my position can be able to do it. So that has just always been my take, to say that I always like to bring it closer to home. That I was not, even now I'm not the brightest student out there, and I would say that I'm not the most hardworking. Well, I am hardworking, but I'm not the most cleverest person out there. I always say this, that where my marks won't take me, my attitude will take me.
Okay.
So my attitude got me to most places whereby my marks didn't take. Most people will think that the places that I am today is because of marks or anything else like that. It's because of the attitude and the right attitude, and I got the right attitude from the Bible. I got the right attitude from God, So that's where I got my attitude from, So I always quote my favorite scripture, that being 2 Timothy 1 verse 7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. That has always been my theme at most. And I like to describe myself as a honey badger. I'm not sure if you know an animal called the honey badger.
No, I've heard of it, but I'm just trying to pick it.
It's a very fearless animal, man. It takes on bigger animals that are way bigger than it,
Sure.
And it doesn't back down on a fight, So
Sure,
I always describe myself. I like to describe myself.
I just want to quickly look at it as well.
A honey badger. You've probably seen.
I'm sure I have.
Yeah, I know. You've probably seen it. It's a very stubborn animal.
Sure.
Yeah, so I like to describe myself as that.
Sure.
I'm digressing a bit, but
it's very much. It's very much important for you to also touch on that as well, because I like the fact that you're saying that you're bringing it back home, because usually most of the time when you look at someone, you don't they don't see you. They usually say that you don't see the process.
Yeah.
You only see the result.
Yeah.
So don't just go for the result, but also
check the process.
Copy. They say don't copy their results, but also copy their process.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's
So
very
I think
true.
it's very much important for someone who's doing LLB or they're doing their BCom out there, and they feel like, okay, whatever route that they're taking, it feels like it's taking long.
And in law it requires patience, man. Only a few that will be fortunate enough to say they get articles with one of the big 5 law firms that will pay them a good amount of money from the entry level and then going up, and they keep them as associates. But for most people, law requires, that's why most good lawyers have grey hair, because it takes experience to get to that point, you know. So it requires patience, it requires hard work, it requires a lot of sacrifices. I had to sacrifice a lot for me to come through and do PhD this year, to say I'm not gonna work, I'm not gonna earn any income. I'm just gonna be surviving through savings and all of those things for the rest of this year. From someone who was working, making your own money last year, now it's a completely different thing. So it requires a lot of that. One thing that I always like to say is, it's also one of my mottos. I would say that, be patient with yourself, because not everyone else will be, but what matters is that as long as you are being patient with yourself, I think that's what matters the most. Other people will lose patience. Even your family members will also lose patience, you know. I always joke about my mom. She's very much patient with me, and she's very much understanding.
Sure.
But she keeps on asking, because I hate kujonza kakona, meaning that don't you finish this learning process now, because you've been learning ever since, you know. So just need to be patient with yourself at most, and take it one step at a time, and just, there's a song by Maverick City, I think it says, I put my faith in Jesus, my hope and anchor to the ground.
Sure.
It's one of the songs that get me going, man.
Sure.
Just do that and just put your faith in Jesus, your anchor to the ground.
So would you say that the process, like you were saying, that the process of becoming a lawyer, it's not only is it long, but it also takes strain on the person. I think one of the things that you touched on is on money, right? So I want to find out, because you see sometimes in my field, right, when we did engineering, we thought we were gonna be balling. And you enter, you realize that, oh, it seems like it's not what it looks like. Exactly. So is there like law? Because I think from what I picked up from the live thing is there's like different officers. Okay, he's a marriage officer, or I'm a what officer. Because everyone were just saying that, okay, I'm an officer. I was like, okay, what's happening here? Because I only know about officers being police officers.
No, it's not necessarily officers, man. It's very much different, you know.
Is it?
We randomly or seldomly, I mean to say, seldomly use the word officer in law.
But I think most of the time, most of the guys that we had,
one person was doing the small claims court that I think is called an adjudicator or something. I forgot the name, but it had an officer in it. And but at most unless we're talking about a presiding officer, that being either a magistrate or a judge, but at most we hardly use that.
Is it?
Yeah.
For me, it felt like seems like when you're doing different officers, right? So, but coming back to the question is there a stream which would say that, okay, in this becoming a doctor or a lawyer, like this stream gets you more cash, like when you're starting, or is it because of the company? I just wanna, just in case if there's someone who's doing it there and they're just doing it for money.
If at the end of the day, in law, you can go for employment. At times it comes with security, but in law it doesn't really come with security. Unless you want to become a magistrate, you want to become a prosecutor, then you can get job security. Then you know that the government you'll forever be employed for the longest time with the government. But if you're going on a private side of things, of where I think that's where people mostly make money, you know. I'm not going to use this analogy. I wanted to use this other analogy, but I'm not going to use it. People will probably be offended.
Okay.
But what I normally say in law is that in law you eat what you kill.
Or meaning that If you find a big
So
buffalo,
if you don't have a skill to hunt a big buffalo, you're always gonna eat birds, or you're always gonna eat springboks here and there.
and
If you have a
rabbits,
skill to hunt a buffalo, then you're going to eat a buffalo. If you have a skill to hunt an elephant, you're going to eat an elephant.
Okay.
So you eat what you eat. If you have no skill to hunt, you're just there with your LLB degree. There's no hunting skill or anything else like that. You'll starve. So that's the unfortunate part. People that are making it big there, except for those ones that are stealing people's money from RAF and all of those things, because you do get those ones that are stealing people's money from RAF, and I think the law on a couple of occasions has dealt with them. But besides that, in law you eat what you kill. So most people that are like big all out there, most of them have acquired the experience and the skills to kill the big animals. As I said, it's a bigger fish to fry.
Bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, so
I think maybe just to explain just a bit more on that, because I feel like I understand what you mean, but I don't really understand
like
what
big
you're saying.
clients.
So that means you have to have big clients.
Let me say that now there's Oscar Pretorius case if I'm doing criminal law.
Sure.
How much do you think maybe the council was charging them? Maybe it was charging, maybe it could be 50,000 a day.
Are you serious?
I'm not saying that's how much it was charging, but some senior councils
it gets to that point.
Along that point, because
Sure.
how it works with most advocates is that, most is that they charge per hour. So most of them start at, now people are going to calculate how much this guy's making and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like,
but,
just to enlighten
but,
us, yeah.
But yeah, you find some of them that would start at mostly entry level. They'll say, from what I've heard, from the conversations I've had with people that are already at the bar, they say some of them they start at 950 per hour, and then some they will say, if I'm working on a case that's going to take me 5 days, you times that 950 for 10 hours a day, then times it by 5, and then if I worked on it for 5 days, that's the amount you get. But now, so that's why I'm saying that if you get small cases for that hour per hour, maybe it's going to be a small case, it's going to take you maybe 5 hours or 6 hours. And maybe that could be the only case you're going to get that week.
Is that the reason why they keep on postponing?
No, actually it's very much unethical, and most people don't keep on because there's no money in postponements.
Oh, okay.
There's really no money in postponements, and it depends on what it is. Especially if it's in a civil case, no one really wants to postpone civil cases because there's costs that also comes with the postponement of civil cases.
Okay.
Even in criminal cases, those ones that keep on postponing is very much unethical. And if you were a client, you don't want a lawyer that always goes to court just to go and postpone your cases. So I don't think anyone else would want to put up that type of an image. So it's just one of those narratives that people get out there, like lawyers are liars.
Yeah,
I always say that if there's one thing that lawyers fear the most is to lie.
Really?
Lawyers fear lying like no one's business. Lawyers are really scared of lying. So because we know the consequences, the harsh consequences that come with lying. So lawyers. If there's rule number one, I think in law, you don't lie.
Don't lie, yeah.
So it's one of those things that people will think, no, this person goes to court just to postpone my cases. Sometimes, or at most, there is a need for a case to be postponed, and it's going to get postponed.
Talking about lying. There was a movie, there was a series actually that was playing recently. Is it possible for you as a lawyer, right, as a different lawyer, as a different than a prosecutor, to be friends but still go into a room and spar there inside?
Yeah, definitely, man. It's like in soccer or rugby, where I played rugby for the most time. If your friend that you know plays for the opposing team, you don't go soft on each other, man. You go hard on each other.
Sure.
So
and you still go out and get a drink together.
I knew a couple of prosecutors that I'd work with, some of them were even ex-colleagues,
Sure.
And then outside, when court adjourns, that's why we always call each other my Leonard friend, my Leonard colleague.
Oh, okay.
That's where those terms come from.
Sure.
My Leonard friend over there, because still the friendship that still comes through and the collegiality that comes through. But whenever we're there, we're both there to work. We're not there to maintain our friendship. And whenever outside court, our friendship continues. So I had a lot of those cases whereby you'll be going to court and you'll be fighting, and people don't even believe the fact that these people are actually friends outside court, So you do get that a lot.
No hard feelings.
No hard feelings. It's nothing personal, man.
Sure,
You're there to work, I'm there to work. But sometimes it does get a bit personal, you know, we're
Really?
human beings, you know. But sometimes it does get a bit personal, you know, we're human beings, you know. But but at most it's nothing personal, you know. You do your job, I do my job. So sometimes even when you try maybe to negotiate a plea before court and stuff, and they disagree, there's a disagreement, you just no, it's fine. No, we're both doing our jobs. Let's just continue and we'll fight it out in court, and then you just go there and fight it out. Justice will be served at the end of the day, you know. So yeah.
Okay. Just before I round up, I think maybe the other question, because in terms of the broadness of the law, right? Because I think with different guests that you had on the live, there were different like things to specialize on. Do you start by choosing if you're going to be a prosecutor or a defender, then move on to be I'm gonna be
prosecutors? Remember, when you think of prosecutors, think criminals. I hate to say this, but that's the quickest way that I can make you understand it.
Oh, I see.
When you think of prosecutor, think of criminals.
Okay.
And then defense lawyers will also come through on criminals. But in civil cases, for instance, classic civil case, I drive out, I bump your car. You want to claim money from me because I bumped your car. Then a person that could have been a defense lawyer in a criminal case could be now what we call maybe the plaintiff's attorney or counsel for the plaintiff. And then I'm the one that says that you are the bad guy who want money from you, bad guy. You also go and get the next person, the next lawyer who also maybe could have been a defense counsel in a criminal case or anything else. That will come and say that no, your person was wrong there and there and there. Therefore, my person was not wrong in bumping him. Therefore, they won't pay him money and stuff. So, but your question comes to say that when do you choose to specialize? I think that's what
that's what I wanted. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, normally when I would speak to final year law students, I would say that for me, just get your LLB degree. That's my personal advice. Someone can advise them differently.
Okay.
Then once you get your LLB degree, and then obviously in application for articles, sometimes there are people that deal their articles at legal aid. They don't even touch criminal law at all.
Okay.
They're working in civil matters, your divorce, your third-party claims and stuff like that.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know, so sometimes it also depends on which animals do you want to hunt. But to hunt, you need a hunting license.
I get it. I love hunting.
Let me not confuse you.
Yeah,
to hunt, you need the hunting license. So I'd say that your hunting license would be for you to finish your LLB. It allows you to say, okay, fine, you can come and train for your hunting license now that you have an LLB.
Sure.
Then when you're there, you can say, okay, fine. Some people are lucky; they get articles when they're learning how to hunt. They get to learn how to hunt a buffalo. So that's why some of them, when they finish with articles already, they already acquire the skill to hunt a buffalo, depending on how a person is much of a quick learner and stuff. But I would say that at any point of your time, you can decide, of your career rather, you can decide to say, I actually lost interest in criminal law. I want to focus on intellectual property. Then you start reading intellectual property books. You associate yourself with people that are practicing intellectual property. And that's how you gain it. Same thing with music. If you want to become a DJ, a house DJ, you probably associate yourself with deep house DJs.
Sure.
If you want to become a gospel artist, you probably follow gospel people. As much as maybe you can be taking certain skills on how to scale and transpose from other genres, but your influence will probably come from that thing. So it's more or less the same type of thing, you know. So yeah, so it's just largely that, you know. So it's not like you are forced to say that if in high school, whereby they'll say if you take commercial subjects, you're going to do commerce afterwards.
Exactly.
And stuff like that. No, it's not like that. Get your LLB degree, and then once you're done with that, then you can practice in anything else that you want to practice in. Articles and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just
I think we've done justice. Just a little bit.
Yeah. Pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is GK Mhlanga, and thank you very much for coming through. And I think we really did touch just in the understanding law.
We did justice.
I think we just did justice for someone who's actually a student who's doing law now. But if you guys want to know more in terms of the small things like small chords, if you go on his life, you actually see that what does it mean when you say small chords and all this other stuff. And yeah, thank you so much for coming through. I really appreciate it. I don't know if there's anything that you want to say.
No, there's nothing that I want to say. But yeah, just to thank you for this, man, and sure someone out there will probably be grateful for this particular opportunity.
Sure.
And I'll continue doing it, man. It's humble beginnings. You're talking about McG. It's where he is today.
Yeah, definitely.
His iPad. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to be a big follower of the guy.
Yeah,
Like I said.
definitely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you'd never know where you'd end up, man. Just continue pushing. And
Sure.
I assume that most of this is largely from Christian background. And there's
Yeah,
a lot of
definitely.
Christian content. So may the good Lord continue to bless the works of your hands, man. You know.
Man.
So yeah, I'm not gonna preach.
All right. Anyways, thank you so much, man. And yeah, that's Stega Podcast.